Welcome to the Universal Monsters Podcast, the show that takes full credit for changing the Wikipedia page for Universal Monsters back into what it was. Seriously, I'm not kidding, look it up. I'm your host, Jake, author of The Devil's League and creator of hot quality content, and with me as always the creator and host of Screenplay Archaeology, Kieran Head, aka Bruce. How you doing?
Good.
And joining us this month, and of course, as per usual, our most frequent guest is... What is this, the third, fourth appearance of you? I don't even know anymore.
Third.
Xander, how you doing?
Number 3. I'm doing great.
Number three, my lord.
Let's
Nice
get it.
to be back. Nice to see you, Bruce. Missed you last time I was here.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah.
especially since that was such a spontaneous thing. I could not have made it.
Yeah, no.
Well,
definitely.
this is a crazy episode with a lot going on. So every month, my fine co-host and I, and whatever guest, will break down a bunch of Universal Monster news across movies, shows, theme parks, physical media, and anything else regarding these classic monsters. After that, we discuss the topic and the title of the episode. So, are you two hooligans ready for some news?
Hell yeah.
I'd like to start today's show with a preview of this Saturday's video. As many of you listening know, this channel got started with the Universal Monsters with our Universal Monster-thon, where we watch and commentate on every single Universal Monster movie ever made. Recently, our last Voyage of the Demeter commentary went up and has almost hit 1,000 views. Well, astute Universal Monster fans will note that that's not the latest Universal Monster film released on digital. So, without further ado, here's an exclusive clip of our commentary for Abigail, specifically during the end discussion where we end up ranking every recent remake since 2017's The Mummy. Check it out.
Let's talk about the, I believe, 5 films that have come out since.
With the exception of the one, they've been on a hot streak, actually, I'd argue.
2020's Invisible Man.
Peak.
Banger.
Fucking amazing film.
Yeah, awesome time.
The Monsters.
Garbage.
Do. Hot ass.
Renfield's
Good.
Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Good.
Good.
This.
Good.
Fine.
Yeah. Like I said, aside from the one, they've kind of been on a hot streak. They had 3 ones that I would say are watchable in a row. That hasn't fucking happened since the 30s,
Yep. So
which I was not a part of.
They've done an Invisible Man movie. They've done a Monster Mash, but not really because it's a different property. And then
Yeah.
they did 3 separate Dracula adaptations.
It's
In a
really
row.
weird that only one of the characters is getting any love.
I will also point out, they're not direct Dracula adaptations. The most direct one was Demeter.
Demeter, and it
That's
was
based
awesome.
on one chapter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And it's a kick-ass movie for it.
It's a good movie, don't get me wrong. I liked Demeter. I liked Renfield. I enjoyed Abigail. But my point is, they haven't done an actual fucking Dracula adaptation.
Yeah.
They have not.
They've adapted bits and pieces of
Yeah.
the lore.
Of the lore.
But
they
they
did a
haven't
movie about
actually
his
done an
thrall. They did a
adaptation.
movie about one chapter. They did a movie about his daughter, which is technically an original character, right? To their universe?
Yes, to their thing.
Yeah.
So the most accurate Dracula adaptations by Universal have been 1931 Dracula
Banger.
and Frank Langella's Dracula from 1979.
that movie sucked.
Well, let me keep it on topic here. Of those 5, real quick, how would you guys rank them?
Monsters is at the bottom.
Monsters is at the bottom.
Monsters at the
Invisible Man's
bottom.
at the top.
Yep.
Demeter is above Renfield, which is above Abigail.
That's exactly what I would do.
I hate to be that guy, but it's literally like Invisible Man's at the top, Monsters is at the bottom, and then the other 3 kind of jumble around depending on my mood.
Fair enough. I would rank
I think
it-
I gave them all 8s.
I go with Ian straight up. I say Invisible, Demeter, Renfield, this, and then of
Yeah,
course Monsters.
I think that's
And that's-
probably how I'd settle.
That's not a slight towards any of the 3 in the middle.
No.
They're all relatively comparable with each other. I like the serious nature of Demeter a lot, and I really like the
camp.
more realistic adaptation of Demeter. I like the campiness and funniness of Renfield, and I think it does a better job with its characters and plot than this campy, funny film does. So I put it above it.
But I could also see I just want to watch this for the dumb shit.
Yep.
You know?
Big time. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'd say the first 4 are good, and then it's the Monsters.
Yep. We know the next Universal
Is
Monster
it?
film is, of course, Lee Winnell's Wolfman, returning director for Invisible Man. So
Yep.
that's
Sweet.
going to be wild next
Who's
year.
the Wolfman?
Christopher Abbott.
Poor things. He's the asshole.
Oh!
All right, guys.
Catch
We'll
you
see you
guys
for the Wolfman.
Fuck
coming out
yeah.
next year.
Woo!
I personally think Last Voyage should go at number 1. I just think that's an amazing film. But
It
other
is
than that,
amazing.
No problems with that one. It's really good.
Yeah, I that's pretty much my ranking, actually.
What we did or what Xander said?
What you said, because I mean, I don't know. I might flip Abigail and Renfield because they're both movies where there's just a little bit about them where I'm like, But other than that, we can get into that later. If we need.
I definitely think I would flip Abigail and Renfield, and then I'd flip Invisible Man and Last Voyage. But I'd keep Invisible Man at number 2. So there you go, Jake.
I kind of
when there's goodness.
I think it's funny that Mud basically, he agreed with our list, but he also said Invisible Man at the top, Munch is at the bottom, and the other 3 just kind of jumble in the middle somewhere. I don't know if I go that far. I think Demeter is decidedly better than the other 2, but that's just...
Yeah,
I never
definitely.
saw Monsters, so I wouldn't really know that one, to be honest.
It's really not a Universal monster movie. There's no point in seeing it.
You're
Yeah.
very lucky.
With all that down, unless you have more to say about Abigail or the Munsters, we got tons more news to get to. I'm just going to launch into it. We have the big one. Blumhouse has announced that Lee Cronin will be writing and directing a new version of Universal's The Mummy, currently slated for 2026. Now, I don't have to tell you guys how excited I am for this because it's of the same ilk as Invisible Man and the upcoming Wolfman. Anything that takes a classic premise and gives it a well-deserved update for modern times can be a really creative idea. And at the very least, whatever this is, will end up being better than 2017's Mummy. So we got that going for us, right?
Oh, especially since Lee Cronin's last film was Evil Dead Rise, which was
Yes.
it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite horror movies of the 2020s so far.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I didn't see Rise. I heard it was really brutal. So
It is.
I feel very confident in that. Little surprised though that we're jumping to the Mummy so soon, given the fact that 2017. And I mean, like the Mummy's gotten so many remakes. I feel like they could have waited a little bit longer. But regardless, very excited, feeling very optimistic about what's coming for that. First time I've heard for it.
I'm optimistic about the movie. Do you want me to deflate you a little bit?
Sure.
Blumhouse is not making this with Universal. They're making it with New Line.
I don't get that. So
yeah.
it's not an official remake of the Universal Mummy. It's just a mummy. I don't know.
I have theories because there was a while back, there was a Bride of Frankenstein movie that was announced that Jason Blum's wife was co-writing. And it was not at Universal. It was somewhere else. I think it went to A24 or something like that. And then Universal was like, oh, we're doing another Bride of Frankenstein with David Koepp, which then didn't happen. And so I'm wondering if Universal, if Blumhouse took the idea to Universal, and Universal was like, no, we got our own idea here for the Mummy. If they maybe got something in their pocket, or maybe if they've got, like, they're just embarrassed of the Mummy at this point and they don't want to do it anymore.
I think Universal just doesn't care anymore. Like that after Mummy failed, they're like, fuck it, do whatever you want to. And honestly, Xander, you mentioned that there's so many remakes of the Mummy. As a guy who has Dracula as his favorite Universal monster, dude, we've had like 3 in a row. I'm kind of waiting for it to switch up a little bit, you know?
No, what I meant was like if you really like look at from the remakes, the Mummy kind of seems like Universal's like big like, okay, this is the one that makes us money. This is the one that's like we're gonna go through. Like Stephen Sommers, it went really good. They gave it a sequel, and then all that stuff happened. And then Tom Cruise, they tried to launch it with that one. So I just mean like in terms of every character, I mean he even has a ride, the Mummy at Universal Studios. So it just kind of like seems like that's to them their big guy for like a mummy, for like a money making monster film. So that's why I was like, oh, that's kind of a little shocking. But the other thing I wanted to say was like, personally, I think some monster movies kind of can get a honorable slot in the Universal Monsters thing. I personally think Lisa Frankenstein is a honorable Universal monster film. So New Line.
In fact, I was just going to say, Focus Features is technically like the indie arm of Universal. And they just put out Nosferatu, so we kind of got 4 Dracula movies from them.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that because none of the other Nosferatus are Universal monsters. I don't know if just the remake counts or anything like that.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
it would be fun.
Do people consider the OG? Do people consider the OG Nosferatu a Universal monster film?
No,
No.
no.
I feel like it's
Not at all.
okay. All right.
No,
Yeah.
it's the German Dracula mockbuster. That's what it is.
Exactly. And yet it ended up being one of the most greatest
Yeah.
movies in cinema ever.
God, that movie's so amazing.
It is. Both versions of Nosferatu amazing. Just saw Nosferatu. So good.
All 3?
Oh, man.
All 3? All 4 if you count Shadow of the Vampire?
Unless we're talking more about the Mummy, I got 100 more pieces of news for you. And this one is kind of the unconventional one before we get to the crazy ones. Reebok, the shoe company, has partnered with Universal to create a line of shoes based on Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, and The Creature from Black Lagoon. This, by chance, and I kid you not, has coincided with the fact that I need a new pair of shoes, boys.
Ooh. I've never worn Reeboks.
I have seen these. Oh no. Did you get them? Did you get them, Jake?
So, I haven't opened this yet, as you can tell.
Oh my god, we're getting an on-screen box opening. This is awesome.
We're getting
Oh,
on-screen
shit.
unboxing. This is a first ever for this show. I have bought Universal Monster merch in the past, like the Pop Funkos from last month, but this is something I actually did need, just by chance. And of course, they launched it at Christmas time, when your boy needs it. So, do you guys want to guess which ones I ended up getting?
Dracula.
I'm going Dracula, but I think I remember the Dracula ones being pretty plain, so I might go... I can't remember what all of them look like, but I'll just go Dracula, safe bet.
So, while it's still out of view of the camera, I did want the Draculas, but they didn't have my size. So I picked what I think are now probably the cooler ones than Dracula. They're Bride of Frankenstein.
Nice. I might have to
So
check
the
and
thing
see
with the
if I
Bride
can
of
find them.
Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein shoes are like basically all black deco with like white detailing, like her hair.
Oh, nice.
It's got this super cool box that I'm just seeing now for the first time in my life. A collection of resurrected
Nice.
classics that unleash your inner monster. That is what's etched on the front. This is such a cool box. It's like a tombstone. Here
That's
lies
really
Reebok Universal. All right.
You know, for some reason I was going to say Bride, because I just felt in my head that probably would be more interesting to design, so...
Here we
I'll
go.
I'll have to look for them.
So this is the shoe.
I didn't even...
You guys are over on that camera, but the audience is going to see it on the main camera. This is the shoe.
Oh, that's
It's got
sick!
I can barely see that.
so cool details. Here, I'll hold it up for you guys because I care about my co-hosts. But it's
Oh,
all
thank
black
you.
with the white laces, white trim.
That is cool.
Ooh, oh,
And the
that's
side-
styling. That's styling.
The side has the Reebok logo, but like stitched in with the design of the hair over it.
Nice.
I like
Nice.
that. I
Is
like that a
For
lot.
the audience there, since we're doing it for an audience, I suppose.
I'm gonna have to
Um,
see where I can find some of those.
Well, it's funny. The Dracula ones had the Dracula logo on the bottom of the shoe. These don't. Inside, they have the Bride of Frankenstein logo, which is
Nice.
not the one used in the movie. It's just a cool logo.
Oh.
But
That's
Cool.
cool. The only problem is that's gonna fade after a while.
yes, after like a couple months.
Yeah.
Actually, you
And
know
I
what?
wear
Now that
my
I
shoes.
think of it, if it was at the bottom of the shoe, it would fade too. Like it would get
Yeah.
scuffed up. So damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a big collector. I like signed items. I like movie memorabilia and stuff like that. I would collect these, but shoes for me, like they just go against my collecting brain. Like you take this super valuable thing and you just step on it every day, all day for like days, weeks, months. Like I would never do that to anything. So I can't treat them like a valuable thing. I'm just going to wear them and enjoy them and live life. And that's it.
Well, I always go with the thing like if it's something like that, like I have I have the AMC popcorn bag, and you know I paid like $100-something for that, but I use it because I paid that much money for it. I'm gonna get I'm gonna use it. It looks cool, but I try to be careful. And I have an expensive pair of like custom Converse, and usually what I do is that I only wear them when I go on my film shoots and stuff, so they're kind of just so that they stay in better condition and things. That way, it's like
You
kind of
have
a nice
directing
little thing.
shoes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A pair of shoes just designed for directing and nothing else.
Well, I have a whole director's outfit too, so it adds to the whole thing. It's fun.
That's pretty cool. All right, well, not to, I didn't want that to become like a, hey, look at this cool thing Jake has. But, every episode has at least one of those parts. So,
I got 12 minutes of that last time.
yes, you did, and it was a pretty fun time.
I mean,
all right, well,
if you guys want to see a cool thing I have, I can show it.
Yeah, I don't want to leave you left
No,
out.
keep,
You got
keep
it?
your pants on.
Okay.
He got the Bride of Frankenstein shoes. Also.
Yeah. I have Count Orlok's tombstone. It's
Oh,
really cool.
you're killing
really
me.
Nicely embossed. Yeah. I tried. I called both AMC's, and just to make sure, they sold out day one, Jake. So I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. I'm really sorry, man.
eBay has it for
but-
$70. I might have, because, all right, so audience, the thing is, this studio is particularly spare roomy today because this month, the Christmas month, we're like kind of cleaning it out and making it new. Part of that are those new display cases, which are just for popcorn buckets that are exclusive to different theaters. I have every Gladiator bucket. You can actually see, the audience can see the Deadpool head pool bucket right there. Dude, the Nosferatu bucket would be so good. It's $70. Like I work hard for $70. I don't know if I want to just drop that, but like, damn, you know.
Hey, you got the giant hammer.
I do.
To be
I
fair,
got the Lord of the
to be
Rings.
fair, you could spend. This is probably one of the better ones to spend $70 because this thing is detailed on every angle.
know.
It has rats
I know.
inside. It has scratch marks on the side. You got little specks of blood. Like this is one of those ones where for $25 I was like, this one went all out. Like this is this earned its money. So I mean like if it would suck to pay 70, but you're getting your money's worth. You're at the very least not like getting like one of the more cheaper ones and stuff. It's a very nicely
$70 is like a little over half of the Bride of Frankenstein. It's like one shoe for Bride of Frankenstein. It would be like that popcorn bucket.
I
sitting in that
still
shelf.
wouldn't say pay $70 for it, but I'm just trying to make it so you don't feel like you're just doing it just for collector's obligation. I'll still keep an eye out, just in case.
I
but don't know
I
if
think
I'll
you're right.
get
I'm
it.
gonna go spend the money right now. Good point, Xander. Thanks for convincing
Oh
me.
God, no, Jake, don't do that. No.
All right. Well, with all that down and my bucket envy out of the way, we got one more piece of news here. It's more of another fun clip that we have for the channel. In preparation for 2025's Wolfman, Tyler Mattis and I did a look back at 2010's The Wolfman. It's a pretty long discussion, but I've pared it down to a gripping 15 minutes, so kick back and take a trip down memory lane, complete with an earlier version of the script and some killer storyboards they should have stuck closer to. Take a look. On the precipice of 2025's Wolfman by Lee Winnell, who is just so ridiculously talented with Invisible Man and Upgrade, and he's just a great filmmaker. Cannot wait for that film. On the precipice of that film, we figured we would talk about the other Wolfman remake, the most recent one, which dates back to 2010's Wolfman. Now, when I say we, I don't mean myself and Kieran Head. I, of course, mean myself and the person who asked me to do this as an idea, Tyler. How you doing? Returning guest from the show.
We're doing pretty good, and thank you for having me on again.
Of course, of course. I like the classic 1941 Wolfman, but I never saw it as like, you know, the way Xander sees it is like one of his favorite movies of all time. And so when we went around to the Monster-thon, we got to the remake 2010's Wolfman with everyone's favorite actor Hugo Weaving in it. I was pretty excited. I enjoyed the final product, but it didn't really wow me. The way it was handled, I was never that invested in it. I still gave it a positive review, but it didn't really jump out at me as an amazing film. What are your thoughts on 2010's Wolfman as it exists, as it came out in theaters?
Well, the first time I saw it was on Valentine's Day. A pretty solid memory, I would say. It was one of the first Radar movies that I saw in theaters when it came out. When I saw it again on Blu-ray, it was the director's cut, and I realized that, yeah, the director's cut is definitely better than the theatrical version. And the reason why the theatrical version is noticeably shorter than the director's cut is that they wanted to get to the werewolf transformation scenes a little sooner. But yeah, I think most would agree that the director's cut is much better because there's things that make more sense and characters and the whole pacing feels a little bit more natural, unlike the theatrical version where things feel a little bit too rushed.
Because I believe we commentated on the channel, I think we got the director's cut. It had the Wolfman cane, and I believe that was cut out of the theatrical release, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, yeah, technically they're both in it, but yeah, there was a deleted scene where they explain how Lawrence Talbot got his hands on the silver Wolfman cane. But the silver canes that you see in that movie was actually modeled after some of the original silver canes from the original movie that was part of Bob Burns' personal collection.
Yeah, it does look dangerously similar, the same way that, say, even Last Voyage of the Demeter has that exact model look-alike replica cane from the 1941 Wolfman. Like, it's all that's like a prominent figure in the Universal Monster canon there. You said you had a script, and I was like, oh, interesting. And you're like, it's the script to the movie, the same exact movie, but before the revisions when they decided to roll cameras and things like that. So it's like one of the earlier drafts of the movie. So I sat down, I gave it a read, I got to the end, and over 90% of what I read is identical, but what changes there are for the better. And by that I mean the older version is better, and the movie we got in theaters I don't think is as good as the script that I read recently. Let me just go through the basics here. It's still the same plot. Talbot is in America doing his acting gig. He gets called back home. And if you've seen 2010's The Wolfman, I'm going to spoil it now. Obviously, it's a 15-year-old movie by the time this uploads. So Lawrence Talbot's father in this version is the werewolf, and there's a big story behind that. What stood out to me in the script, before we get to the fun stuff, because there's a little bit of fun stuff, we got storyboards, we got whatever. What stood out to me as an improvement is the backstory for Sir John Talbot. There's 2 or 3 pages of exposition, which I usually would mind, but in this case, it actually makes the movie we watched, or read technically, make more sense. He is trying to justify in his head what he does when he is a werewolf is not his responsibility, and he doesn't care at all about when it happens. I really appreciate that from a character point of view, because it looks like he's been grappling with that, his own morality, and by the time that Lawrence confronts him about it, he's full on the other end, where he's just like, well, fuck it, I don't care at all. And I think that's a lot more interesting of a character than, say, the version we got in the movie, where you don't have as similar of an explanation, where he's just crazy for the sake of crazy, and it's just not as memorable of a depiction.
Well, the obvious thing is that this early draft that was written by Andrew Kim Walker before David Self came in to do a rewrite, which was a request of Joe Johnston, was that Hugo Weaving's character is not in the script. That's the biggest difference.
Yes, I was waiting for him.
Yeah, so imagine that David Self must have introduced him into the script. There's this weird moment where Lawrence turns into the Wolfman for the first time, but it's not until that asylum area, and then he breaks out, and there's like a whole super long sequence of him rampaging across London, where it kind of came off as little unintentionally comedic after a while, like kept going on and on and on. And I thought it was interesting that there was supposed to be a cameo appearance by Jack the Ripper, like the Wolfman kills a woman that Jack the Ripper was going to kill. And then there was even a few nods to Werewolf of London, where he breaks into a zoo and frees some wolves, and then a reference to Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, where he kills, or at least some wolves kill some grave robbers in a local cemetery. And then also we do see the final werewolf fight. Oh yeah, the final battle is a little bit overly elongated in the script as well. Like, they start off fighting in Talbot Hall, and then Lawrence, before he turns into the Wolfman, throws like the bullets into the fireplace, and they explodes, and they both go flying back out when they're both werewolves. They fight by a nearby crumbling castle, and then they happen to go by the forest area where Gwen is nearby. I do feel like, story-wise with the mystery, I do think the script is better. However, I do like the final movie in terms of how they paced out the werewolf stuff in it, and with Wolfman action, I think that was just balanced better. But I do agree that the mystery was better in the script, at least the early one by Andrew Kim Walker, compared to the final movie.
The other changes that stand out to me are admittedly like superficial. Like, there's a scene where he goes into the crocodile pit and they have a bit of a spar. Big fan of that. I mean, you're telling me that like that was cut out of whatever version they ended up shooting. Like, that's just so disappointing. Like, now that I know that was there, because really there's not a whole lot of like monster action. And I know it's a horror film. I want to keep it a horror. I don't want to change it into an action movie, but you can put a little bit in there. And the only bit of action they put into the final product, besides like the werewolf kills and stuff, was him fighting his dad for all of like 30 seconds, which should have been a much more interesting fight than that. So
the one storyboard that stands out the most to me, that I like the most, is the moment where the werewolves are fighting. They're on top of Talbot Hall, where the whole building's going up in flames, and they're fighting on the roof. And from what I imagine, and you were talking about like stuff cut or changed in that, one change I really wish they would have kept in the movie. They did film this, and they ended up not cutting it. They ended up cutting out, and they did use some of the marketing. And it was even referenced a little bit later on into the story, if you look at a wide poster, was this whole entire moment where the Wolfman, part of his rampage in London, is that he breaks into a masquerade ball, and they think that, oh, it's just some guy in a, elaborate, highly detailed costume. And then he like goes up to a blind singer, and then he attacks this one guy who bothers him. And then he runs out of there, and then he crashes a puppet show where he kills a puppeteer and he scares these little kids. And I wish they would have kept that in, because that was, a fun part of the, whole rampage across London, which I feel like that was where the movie peaked in terms of entertainment value.
It's funny, because a horror movie should not be known for like amazing action scenes. Like, it's not to stick horror, but when I think back on 2010's The Wolfman, I keep imagining scenes, like, for example, the crocodile scene that never made it in. Had they had that scene, like, even if the movie was identical to how it came out, but they just added that, like, extra minute or two, Then when I think today of 2010's Wolfman, I think back on it, the first thing I'll think of is that scene because that was so impactful. Like, whoa, that's so interesting to have watched. And I just feel like as I recall that film today, the most interesting scenes to me are him walking down the hallway and transforming, which is storyboarded out very clearly and is very interesting to watch. But also the scene in the hospital, which was a great twist because, well, it's not a twist because we know it's going to happen. But when the doctors are all claiming like, oh, it's all in your head, it's not real. Now watch as the full moon happens and he transforms in front of him. That's a fun, satisfying scene. So that was a really fun scene, really satisfying. And it was just visually interesting. The effects, I don't want to say they hold up. They kind of don't, but the storytelling of the scene was kind of great. Like the way it was framed and the way they like made the character transform was just fascinating to watch.
Yeah, that's like the last Universal monster movie to at least get nominated for an Academy Award, and also did win. And yeah, Rick Baker and Dave Elsie did a great job with this one. The original Wolfman from 1941 is an excellent movie. I would say it's one of the best Universal monster movies ever made. I would put it in my top 10. However, the 2010 remake of The Wolfman, out of all the Universal monster movies, this is the one I'm most conflicted with because there are things about it that I like, such as, Anthony Hopkins, Hugo Weaving's performances. I also love the creepy atmosphere. And then I also love the makeup work by Rick Baker and Dave Elsie. The big issue I have with this movie is really the way that Benicio del Toro's version of Lawrence Talbot is written. In the original Wolfman, it was a better tragedy because Larry Talbot, the Lon Chaney Jr. version, was that he had somewhat of a pretty good life, minus the passing of his brother. But yeah, he was a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, and then just out of nowhere, tragedy strikes him, and that made him a really tragic character. But the problem with the 2010 version is that he already had some sad things happen in his life, and so the fact that he becomes a werewolf on top of that is like, oh, well, sorry for that. It's kind of like the equivalent of like, a scratch will stand out more on a nice car compared to like a old, beater car that's got, a bunch of dents and scratches on it.
I think I'm going to disagree a little bit there. Well, let me start with what do we agree on. 1941's Wolfman is a good movie. I appreciate what it did. And 2010's Wolfman, I regard in the same ilk. I like both of them. I don't love either of them. But I think making his dad the werewolf that, initially caused all of the story and things like that, that's not a bad angle to take because what it feels like is 1941's Wolfman is Larry Talbot kind of has his own story, his own plot. He has his own, he likes the Gwen woman. He watches her in the telescope in the top room and it's not weird. And then, of course, his dad has like this big, wealthy family business and things like that. And then a werewolf just kind of bites him and it doesn't feel all that relevant to the story. Whereas 2010's Wolfman, that they make that relevant. The point of that movie is that he is, in fact, this werewolf harboring this dark secret, and it comes back to haunt him. And yeah, you're right. A scratch is going to stand out more on a perfect car, but being a werewolf is not a scratch. That's like totaling your car every full moon. Like, I don't know. Like, so to me, I think 2010's Wolfman, with this premise at least, is a better stepping off point. Now, do I think it's a better movie? That's a different question. But as it stands, I actually don't mind the Father Wolfman twist there. In relation to 2010's The Wolfman, how do you feel about 2025's Wolfman? Do you think it's going to be better or worse? It's clearly going to do something different. In the official synopsis for the upcoming movie, Blake, Christopher Abbott, and his family are going to, I think it's their father's old house after their father goes missing or something along those lines. And that just feels very 2010's Wolfman-y in the sense that, is his father the werewolf? Did he die from the werewolf? Are both true? What do you think about that?
I think it's interesting. That's the first time I'm hearing that premise. I would have liked to have seen the Ryan Gosling version at some point, or at least a script of what he was trying to do. And Lee Winnell, coincidentally, was writing his own version of a Wolfman remake around the time when the lockdowns and the pandemic was going on. So I can tell that this script, at least this movie of The Wolfman, was definitely inspired by the real-life horror that we all experienced several years ago, which I find that, kind of fascinating to say the least. I really liked Lee Winnell's Invisible Man movie from 2020, was pretty solid, and I'm looking forward to this one as kind of like an isolated horror film. But, I'm not going to be overly excited about it because I don't want to be disappointed, but I'm also going to go into it as neutral as possible. So if it turns out to be really good, then I'll definitely be thrilled and really, have a good time with it.
That is a great wrapping up point. I didn't want to go too long on this subject because, again, it's not 2010's Wolfman is not one of my favorite movies, even amongst the Universal monster movies. If you look at just the remakes, well, actually, this is a great question. What do you think is your favorite Universal monster remake? Dracula 1979 up to now. And what do you think would be your least favorite? Because I'll tell you, 2010's Wolfman is neither of them. It's not terrible. It's just also not amazing.
Well, it's an easy one for me. My favorite is the 1999 remake of The Mummy. Absolutely love that movie from beginning to end. I will say the 2010 remake of The Wolfman, even though I don't love it or hate it, I will say what makes this movie so fascinating and stands out from the blockbuster phase of Universal monster films that started with the first remake of The Mummy and then ended with the 2017 Mummy is that this is the only one that wasn't trying to be a action blockbuster movie. It was trying to be a horror movie, even though the production budget was basically trying to be that of a blockbuster movie. Tonally, it was trying to be a horror film, which makes it unique and stand out. As far as my least favorite goes, I would say probably the 2017 remake of The Mummy is my least favorite when it comes to remakes or reimaginings of them. Too many cooks in the kitchen, and it's just a very dull movie that's very generic and just not very good in retrospect.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent choice. Some days I choose that as well. Some days it's the fourth Scorpion King movie. It's really a toss-up, but Mummy 2017 is a really rough watch. I think it's funny that both your favorite and least favorite are the same title, which is really cool. But
yeah, ironic.
Thanks for having this idea, and thanks for sending me all this fun crap. I'm probably going to pour through it again later on.
That's okay.
So
yeah, and maybe we could do something similar like this in the future.
It's definitely a discussion. With that down and out of the way, the title topic has arrived, boys, and we are very excited and prepared for this one. It is the favorite and least favorite parts of every Universal monster remake. Everything from Dracula 1979 all the way up to Abigail from this recent year. Do you want to start with Dracula 1979?
Yeah, let's go in order. I like a good chronological approach.
Yeah, I have it all in order, so yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I'll start because, I don't know, it's my show. My favorite part is the scene where they adapt the Demeter chapter and he becomes a wolf and jumps off the boat. The visuals were striking and they stuck really close to the book. It's like the only part of that movie that's like not dripping in sultry romance. So I really appreciate it. It was pretty fun.
My best part is when they go to dig up Mina's grave and they stumble into the mine tunnels and they encounter Mina as a vampire.
Yes, that was fun.
That scene, that's the best scene in the movie. I love that scene.
That was haunting, yeah.
I really like the part where Dracula bit someone's neck and killed them. Definitely have seen the movie. I swear
Wow,
I've seen
so
it.
this is Xander's one blind spot on the remake list. I bought it for a second. I was like, there's a few parts like that, I guess. I just can't think of one.
I mean, the big wolf paw comes out of the coffin and rips the guy's throat out at the beginning.
Right, exactly.
It's not
I guess Xander will punt on this one.
It's not a very memorable movie.
It's not.
You're gonna get a couple punts in this list. I'm sorry, but
all right. My man is not a true fan. All right, I see how.
I've seen the other ones. I just don't consider them part of it because it's like some of them just feels like spin-offs, But we'll get into that when we get into that.
Yeah.
Well, my least favorite part is the love scene, which becomes this abstract expressionist fever dream. I didn't want any part of that when I was watching it. It was like the least sexy thing ever. Nor did I want it to be sexy. It's Dracula,
In all fairness, Frank Langella has also said he hated the red laser stuff. And his quote on it is simple. He says simply, "I hated it then, I hate it now."
Me too. We're the same.
My first choice for the worst part, and it solely depends on which edition you're watching, but for the longest time, this was the only one you could get, and it's the color, or lack thereof. When shooting the original John Badham, he wanted to shoot in black and white, and Universal told him no. So the movie originally was in color. But when the Laserdisc came out in the early 90s, he went, maybe I can get my original vision in there, kind of, and he fucked with the color settings and like drained all the color from the movie, so it's kind of color but kind of not, and it just looks weird. And that was the only version you could get for the longest time, unless it was randomly on TV, the original version, until like Scream Factory did a release a couple years ago. My second worst is the hairstyle.
It's pretty bad.
My least favorite part is the fact that this movie is apparently so unmemorable that I didn't even know it was a thing. So I don't know. That one.
Xander hitting it with the classic punt.
Yeah, I'm also being just called out for not being called a fake fan for not knowing this random Dracula remake.
Exactly. That's what the real fans know. The 1979 Dracula that nobody
The real
cares about.
fans know all the dumb shit.
Exactly. So here we go with the one that actually, the first real thing that matters in this list, The Mummy 1999. My favorite part, it's actually the thumbnail of our commentary for this movie when one of the henchmen screams at Rick and he just screams back and fires the shotgun. That's genuinely fantastic. That's like the best part of like all three of those movies.
My best part is I like the fact that as a remake, it actually does draw a lot, even though it's like very different. It keeps a number of important things from the original, mostly like Imhotep's character and backstory. I think all that's really great.
Yeah, that part's really good. I have two, but like one's just really quick, or they're both just really quick. I really like when Imhotep first reawakens and like he's just kind of like running around in the dark caverns and everyone's just kind of running around there. I think that was like really fun and just I don't know. Whenever I think about it, I think about that like scene where like Brendan Fraser looks at him and he roars and he goes ah, and then he runs into Benny and stuff like that. I think that was like genuinely well done, especially when the guy's poor eyes get sucked out of his body. And then the other part I really like is towards the end where the mummy Anaxu is like kind of running around and doing stuff, and then she gets slaughtered in shadow. I think that looked really cool and was really well done. I like seeing that. It's kind of grimly dark.
It calls back to her suicide scene at the beginning, which was also in shadow.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's just really well filmmaking with the shadows and stuff like that, personally.
Yeah, there's tons of really cool little effects in those first two mummies. Least favorite part, I'll be seeing you again. Hands down. Hands down. Whole movie, worst part.
Least favorite part, I know I just said I liked Imhotep and the backstory. Part of it is the dumbest thing ever because they go, we hate you, we're going to punish you. Not only are we going to mummify you alive and kill you, we're also going to make you immortal and give you superpowers.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, what?
Yeah, it's just like they gave them the punishment, and that punishment meant that if he ever reawakened, he'd have the most powerful curses known to man.
He's like the most powerful being on Earth ever.
We somehow gave you all the powers of the Hebrew god.
And you're defeated by Brendan Fraser twice. Well, speaking of that very subject, I'll tell you.
Whoa. I gotta give my least favorite part, Jake. Don't
my
count me
God,
out
what's your least
short.
favorite part? Hit it.
I actually saw this movie. Calm down. My least favorite part, very simple, stretchy mouth. I don't understand Stephen Sommers' obsession with stretchy mouth.
I've heard mixed things. I've heard people love that. I've heard people hate that. So
I don't mind it, but to be fair, they don't show it that much in the first one. That's way more a thing in the second.
yes,
If someone loves it, genuinely think it's cool and stuff, I'd want to hear their argument, but I doubt anyone who actually liked it only likes it because it's ironic and funny. That's my piece.
No, I think they like it, but in the sense of like, oh, that's a cool effect, and then that's it. There's nothing deeper than that. But I'm indifferent toward it. I don't know. I think it looked fine for what it was. I'm not like super against it. But let's go to Mummy Returns. My favorite part of that hit Brendan Fraser sequel is similar to the stretchy mouth. It's the big water face when they're flying away. That's pretty fun.
That's fun.
Pretty fun.
My best part is that it's mainly just that the action is still pretty good, but specifically the scene where Brendan Fraser catches a snake out of the air and then catches a knife and throws it back and kills a guy.
That's pretty fun too. Yeah. It's pretty great.
The duel between the two women and like for the flashback scene, I thought that was like really cool and like a really well done choreographed fight. I was really here for it. I was like, oh, that's sick.
See, I think I liked the choreography a lot, but I think the reason why I didn't enjoy that scene so much is because it's such a weird retcon to give her that crazy backstory, you know?
I'm going to get to that.
That's fair.
Well, I'll just say my least favorite part and pass it off. It's look, it's the Scorpion King showing up at the end. It's the unfinished CGI. I don't know if it was finished at the time, but that thing showing up with the Rock's face, like, CGI heads have come a really long way for the better, I would say. This is like the first iteration of a CGI full replacement head, and they realized, oh, we can't do this right now. We do not have the technology. Oh, damn.
We cannot rebuild him.
I'm gonna step in really quick and just say that I used to feel that way, but after watching Ant-Man Quantumania, I would rather get the Rock CGI than ever have to sit through the head, the Mordok head ever again. Okay, I'm just saying, Ant-Man, retroactively aged well.
Ant-Man Quantumania is just a friendly reminder that we're not there yet with head replacements. We're just not fucking there.
You see, I think it was supposed to look stupid in that movie.
Yeah, there's a part of that too. Yeah.
Regardless, it was bad.
So my worst part is the reincarnation plot. It's stupid. Yes. It retcons everything. The movie doesn't even understand the concept of reincarnation. It almost just felt like he went, what didn't I take from the original movie? Oh shit, reincarnation. Also now Rick is Jesus or something.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I feel like they didn't even watch the first one when they wrote that in. Like, that doesn't line up with anything we've seen.
I actually like the reincarnation. I like that Returns feels like a cool fan fiction of like everything you want to see. That said, I really liked seeing Aung San Suu Kyi and Imhotep be together. Hated that Aung San Suu Kyi at the end betrays Imhotep. It just made no fucking sense. And I was like, what? Why? That made what? Okay, that was random.
That. I actually like that.
Of course you did. You hated the reincarnation.
I like that because it basically just confirms that she was being an opportunist with him in the first place. I think that's an interesting twist.
That's neither here nor there. Let's go on to a far better film that everyone agrees is the superior of the mummies. The Scorpion King with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'll be honest, it was hard to find a favorite part. I think I finally did. The scene where Michael Clark Duncan wakes up next to a beautiful woman, and then when he gets out of bed, there's another beautiful woman on his other side. That's pretty funny. That genuinely got me laughing. It's like the only laugh in the movie. That's it.
I like the part where Dwayne Johnson zip lines from a camel, and then the camel just goes, fuck this, and sits down. And he ends up falling into a bunch of bad guys.
Man, I haven't seen that movie since I was literally a kid. So I do remember that, like, I watched like one scene a couple years back where like Dwayne is like running through everything. So I'm just gonna say that one because yeah, cool. I'll go with that one.
Tight, the one you remember. Well, my least favorite part is similar to what you just mentioned. It's all of the action, whether it's the bad choreography or the constant cutting or the missing frames. Like, everything about the action is like, you could literally teach it in film school of like, if you're going to make an action movie, this is just, avoid all of this.
My worst thing is that scene where they just rip off Temple of Doom and he hides behind the gong.
I just don't actually like that it's not a, like, I don't even consider it a Universal Monster movie.
It's not.
I didn't even bother in my thing, so that's gonna be my thing. I don't see why it doesn't count to me.
When I jumped in and said Scorpion King, I was joking. I didn't know we were doing this one.
Oh, I didn't do any of the Scorpion King sequels. I just did the first.
I knew Jake was gonna add it in, and I was like, Jake's way too. I mean, this man likes Ape Woman, and
I don't like the Scorpion King. Are you kidding me?
So of course he's gonna add. So, you put something in your book, so I knew you were gonna add Scorpion King.
Well, I'm a completionist. All right. Look, I want to make sure I got the full ensemble.
Listen,
there.
You don't need to add everything, all right? No one needs The Rock Johnson to be part of the Universal lineup. Okay?
But when the Wolfman isn't in the third act, suddenly everybody's knocking down my doors, all angry.
Okay, buddy. Okay. Mr. Completionist over here.
All right, look, we're getting into some pretty deep Devil's League spoilers, so I guess I'll just probably move on from that. Okay. So the next one up is one that's very near and dear to my heart. It is, of course, Van Helsing. If this isn't on your list, you're crazy. Favorite part of this movie...
It is.
Good, thank goodness. Favorite part of this movie is... I really thought about it because I love so many parts of this movie, but the part I love and respect the most is when she dies at the end. It is the most ballsy move that no movie would ever do today with franchise brain and shared universe brain. The movie has a definitive ending that's actually satisfying for the story it's telling. It didn't pull its punch. So I'm missing that in a lot of recent Hollywood films.
My favorite thing is
That
I
was a
think
good scene, yeah.
Hugh Jackman's really good.
He's great. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's kind of a thinly written part, and he doesn't have a whole lot to work with, but he does a good job. He carries the movie okay.
I can't accept criticism of the film, but I will say they do just throw in the angel thing and do nothing with it.
They imply it, and then come back for Van Helsing too. Never.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing they didn't actually do with at all that they put in that film.
Yeah, that part was kind of weird. Again, I have two things. First one, this one's like the actual really serious one that I really liked, as a dramatic Universal monster kind of moment. The brother's name was Velkin, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure for you, Jake. Really liked Velkin's final moments when he was trying to say warn his sister and everything. When you really really think about it, it's so darkly fucked up and just really damn, I don't know, whenever I think of him I'm like, man, that is dark. And then I just love Dracula in this. He's so much fun to watch. It's just such a great personality.
Yes. Yeah, he's so fun. Well, it's time for the least favorite part of a film that I hold near and dear to my heart. But that's okay, because I have a pretty clear way to go here. This is taken directly from Bram Stoker's Dracula, so I can only be so mad at it. But when you kill Dracula, every single vampire just explodes. That trope is so annoying for me in all of movies, usually sci-fi movies, where the writers just don't want to spend the time actually fighting the entire army they set up, and they just go, oh, well, let's just kill the big boss and everyone dies with him, just like nothing works in real life. So I hate that.
Let's try spinning. That's a neat trick.
That's a neat trick. It's in the Phantom Menace. It is in the Phantom Menace.
My least favorite part is during the big fight at the end, they keep changing back into human form to do exposition. And the whole concept of the werewolf turns human because there's clouds in front of the moon is just stupid as hell.
It's a little silly, yeah. Just because, there's kind of always a cloud there. What is it? You can't see a full moon? How full is the moon? You can measure how full the moon is, objectively.
Technically, the moon is always full because it's always there.
And technically, there's always crap in the way of the atmosphere to make it not perfectly full. So, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, well, this is more of a joke. My least favorite part is that it doesn't stay in black and white. Legitimately, it was cool that it opened that way. I think it should have gone the full 9 yards, kept it in black and white. But my actual, true least favorite part, if I'm not being fucking nitpicky, the werewolves. I hate how they work. I hate that they're just lackeys to Dracula. I hate that they permanently transform after a while. I hate the stupid moon thing. Not a big fan of their design, but they're pretty cool for the movie itself. But yeah, I just don't like that. I don't like that werewolves seem to have this stupid trend of they're just cannon fodder or the lackey of another monster like Dracula or something. It just feels so lame and kind of just really makes me feel like, well, that fucking sucks as a werewolf fan.
And then you watch the Underworld movies where the werewolves have all the kills.
They're not part of this series. You know what is part of this series? Everyone's favorite mummy movie, The Mummy 3, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. No, all right. So it is just mine of the three. I think it's the best of the three. No one else thinks that. And my favorite part of this movie is most of the CGI. It's really good. It's really fun.
Wait, you legitimately like that's legitimately your favorite of the three?
Of the three, I think it's the most watchable.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the most watchable of the three, yeah. I'm not a big Fraser Mummy guy. I'm not big into those first two.
To give you context, in the original review, he gave it a 5 out of 10, and it was still his favorite. And then when he watched them again for the episode we did on the trilogy, he bumped it up to a 6.
Yeah. It's fine. It's a passable film.
I'm genuinely shocked because you love Stephen Sommers Van Helsing, so I kind of figured the first Mummy you'd like the best.
I do. I watched Van Helsing, loved it, and then I watched The Mummies later on, and I was like, this does not have the same energy. Like, you can tell it's the same director because he's got like the same kind of like gags in there, but it's not the same. I didn't quite,
My apologies for dissing Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. I genuinely didn't know this lore. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's a masterpiece by any stretch.
So my best part is I really like the scene with the Yetis. That is the perfect kind of stupid for this kind of movie, where they just show up, beat the shit out of some bad guys, kick them over the thing like they're playing football. It's funny.
It's not just like they're playing football. They did the goal thing.
Yeah, they did
Yeah, well,
Well, again, I didn't really add this to the list of ones, and I haven't seen this since I was a kid, so I can't really genuinely give a good thing. I didn't even bother rewatching it when I did watch all the Mummy stuff when I was doing research for that film, for the script I was writing. But I do remember when I saw it in theaters, I really laughed at the part where Brendan Fraser's character and his son were like arguing about guns or something like that. They're like in the snow,
was fun.
and he goes like, "Yeah, well, I got this one and this one." I don't know. I remember that one was pretty. That scene was pretty funny.
Dick measuring with his own son.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Well, my least favorite part, I said my favorite part was most of the CGI. Least favorite part is when Jet Li's 3 CGI heads peer out of that portal thing and become the super dragon. That was like cancer for the eyes.
He becomes Ghidorah. I'm surprised Toho didn't sue.
I know. Identical.
Worst part, there's a lot to choose from here. My main thing is that a lot of the characters in this are really goddamn annoying. Uh-oh.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, I just can't see you.
I can hear you. I just can't see you. But the important part is they can see you.
Yeah.
How about now?
Nope, you're just gone.
Oh,
there we go.
There we are.
I can see your
I see
wires.
Cables. I'm getting really
Yo.
upset at your cable management, but that's about it. Oh, there you are.
So, okay, there we are.
I need to power off my phone. I remember this happening a couple episodes ago.
But no, my least favorite part is the characters are really annoying, and the thing I always use to emphasize this is the fact that there's a random comedy scene of Jonathan proposing to a yak. Like,
Yes.
2 minutes, and I mean, that just caps off the stupid relationship drama they try and do in the scene before that. It's like, we're not even going to try. He's just going to propose, he's going to declare his love to a yak that vomited on him earlier in the movie. And it's a fake yak, too, which just makes it worse.
Yeah, there were a lot of attempts at comedy that were just not it. No, there's a reason you don't remember it. It was pretty forgettable.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my least favorite part is just the movie itself. I don't even bother considering it a Mummy movie. You're not really doing in Egypt, stuff like that. It's just not a Mummy film. I'm sorry.
They could have picked a culture that actually had mummies.
Yeah, and which is funny because it's probably the only movie that references the Mummy twice in its title. Jet Li's character is the Mummy and the Dragon Emperor, so I don't know what the hell's going on there.
I mean, he's not even a mummy. He's
The Mummy,
playing-
subtitle Tomb of the Mummy. So, whatever. Well, all right. This one is a definitive, bona fide, tried and true Universal Monster remake. It is 2010's Wolfman, which earlier this episode we did a deep dive on. I got my favorite and least favorite part. I'll just say favorite part is all 30 seconds of the final fight. That's it.
My favorite part is Benicio del Toro's performance, which is really good. He does tragic really well, and that combined with the excellent makeup effects, that's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, all the acting is great.
Yeah, no, Rick Baker did a good job. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the werewolf fight at the end, because that one was really good. I had two. That was one of them, but I'm actually going to go with the one scene that I always think about that I thought was really well done, the hunt scene. When Lawrence first transforms and like the town like has the hunt set up, and he just rampages in there, just fucking kills all of them. The trap goes down. It's so good, that scene where the guy falls in the quicksand, he's about to off himself and it doesn't work, and the Wolfman just goes bam, head thing. Great scene. I think it was an awesome hunt scene. I love that scene.
That was my second choice. I really enjoyed that too.
Hey, look at that.
My least favorite part is the pacing. Mostly like the first like first and second acts, like the way the story got there was just not great. It wasted a lot of time. It spent way too much time on the wrong parts of the movie. And after having read that script recently in the start of the episode, yeah, no, they made changes for the worse. I really wish.
Is that the Andrew Kevin Walker?
The Angry what?
Andrew Kevin Walker script?
Yes, that's the
That
one.
is good. That is good. Yeah.
I thought you said Angry Captain Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
No, that's just Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah, exactly.
But no,
I'm gonna have to read that
part,
script.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, my
Cool,
worst
thanks.
part. There's quite a bit to choose from here. As much as I do like this movie, I just think it's a very strange mix of different things because you have Del Toro doing like really tortured and dark. You have Anthony Hopkins who's like, "Wee, I'm a wolfman," and then you have Hugo Weaving doing his like Agent Smith thing over there, and then Emily Blunt is like grooming Benicio del Toro to be her new husband. Like what? It's a very strangely plotted film.
It is, and you know
My
what's funny, too,
husband
is-
died, but his brother's single.
Yeah, literally. Agent Smith was not in that movie. They added that in because they thought that the characters needed like a cohesive story to tie them all together. And he just comes across as like a separate subplot that isn't really that relevant anyway. So like they didn't accomplish what they wanted to do.
He's a bad detective too.
He gets bitten by the end, for fuck's sake. Sorry to spoil this 15-year-old film that's a remake of a 100-year-old film.
The sequel we will never get.
Rules.
The sequel we will never get where the Wolfman has a hairline like this.
Oh,
Yes, now we're talking.
No. No,
Now we're
thank you.
talking. All right, well,
okay.
what's your least favorite part?
I have two. One, I used to love this movie when I was a kid. It used to be my very favorite. Now I affectionately call it the remake or the movie that I always saw the Wolfman as when I was a kid, where it's like super bloody anyways. But I don't like the asylum stuff. I hate that we just like stop the movie to this random asylum.
Yes,
St. Paul.
that is
I
a
don't
problem.
really think it works. It's really random. You got like strange shit going on. But above that, I think the thing I hate the most is Anthony Hopkins' performance. My guy did not try in this movie at all. And I didn't notice until my recent rewatch. Especially, there's one scene that I always think about is right after he gets bit and Lawrence gets like carried in through it, and Anthony Hopkins just kind of walks over, looks over and goes, "Lawrence, Mother of God." No trying at all. I'm just like I don't know. I already don't like that. Like Sir John is just evil for just to be evil and stuff. Like I'm not a fan of that subplot.
I'm gonna send you this script.
It's way better. It is
Okay.
way better in the script. We
But
should screenplay archaeology.
Even beyond that,
We should.
yeah. But even beyond me not liking Evil Sword John, I think the biggest reason is just Anthony Hopkins didn't even fucking try with the acting. It's just so stale. He's sleeping through, and it just makes me hate it even more.
I think he has moments, but once again, he feels like he's in a different movie from Benicio del Toro. He feels like he's in the campy spoof.
I don't mean to be the guy that kind of likes it, but I kind of like his acting. I like the acting all around. Well,
That's okay,
either
Jake.
way-
I'm the one who liked Mummy too, so.
That's true. Which, hey, that's a normal thing, I guess, for Universal Monster fans, except me. So, but either way, Dracula Untold is far better than every film mentioned on this list. I think we can all agree it's just a masterpiece. I've only been lying, by the way, for all these movies. Dracula Untold, my favorite part of this movie, unironically, is when he first discovers his powers in the woods. It's like 2 minutes long, but like you can visually see, like he can sense the heartbeats. That he shows that, and his hearing is super good now. And I don't know. I think
when he
that's like
when
a
he
really
realizes
creative
his
way to do it.
ring is burning him, that was cool too.
Yes, it's really creative.
That was a
It's
good
all
way to like
visual.
show the weakness.
Yeah, it's all visual storytelling, and it's super creative, and I love that aspect of that part of that movie.
I think Luke Evans does a good job with what little he has.
Yeah.
Like, I think he sells the kind of tortured angle of it, and I think if the movie had had the courage to follow through and had him become evil Dracula at the end of the movie, I think he could have sold it. But I do think he's one of the stronger parts of it.
I agree.
Yeah, if he like stuck with evil Dracula, that would really worked. My favorite part that I always like kind of remember, and the movie obviously ruins this at the end of it too. I love when the whole like when Dracula's whole like kingdom all like they lost and all of them decide, yeah, let's just become vampires. Fuck this, and they just all turn into vampires and just wreck the army shit. I thought it was like really dark and really like, oh, I'm down with this, and then it just screws it over by having him kill off all. I'm just, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't like that. I thought it'd been really cool if he went evil, and now we have a kingdom of vampires. That would have been sick.
In tandem with that, because this scene is not far from that one, my least favorite part of the movie is the big bat fist that punches the army. It's awful. It was in all the trailers. It was like the big marketing of like, this is a cool big blockbuster now. And I'm watching it in context, and it's like the lamest, stupidest fucking thing you could ever do with this character.
It was lame in the trailers.
It was lame in the trailers.
And the trailer was actually decent from what I remember. My worst thing, I kind of have two. One is the runner-up, which is that it's once you know this is going on, it's very obvious that Charles Dance was added in reshoots because all the camera shots are like this on his face.
Yeah.
But the big one is that, like Xander mentioned, the ending where it's like, this goes back even to the better versions of the script from like 2007 or so, where it was called Dracula Year Zero. This problem is still there, where they kind of wuss out at the end and have Dracula still be a good guy.
They just can't get away from it. They gotta do it.
And the fact that they did that and then did the whole friggin' like Marvel post-credit scene at the ending of the movie. The ending sucks.
Yeah, that was big Marvel. Wow, the ending could be its own least favorite part on its own right there. That's rough.
My least favorite part, if I can't say everything else, Dracula shouldn't be a good guy. In no way Dracula should be a good guy. He shouldn't have a backstory. He needs to be mysterious. Don't make him a good guy. He's not supposed to be a good guy. He's like meant to be one of like the most classic ultimate evil characters in all of fiction. It's just, don't make him a good guy.
Yeah.
Don't make him a tortured anti-hero. No.
As the Dracula superfan in the room, you're 100% right. Like, I like him because so many villains are like tragic or they think they're doing what the right thing. He's just fucking evil, man. Just loves being evil. It's his favorite thing. So great. But all right, well, now we're at the creme de la creme, the true crown jewel of the Universal monster family here.
Oh,
and what I can
movie
probably
of all
say,
time.
I think I can speak for all of us when I say it's our favorite film. 2017's The Mummy.
Oh yeah.
It's a fun film to talk about.
The fact that you understand exactly what Xander was just doing right there is just speaks to the quality. All right. Well, my favorite part of this movie is the eye doubling effect. Every time it shows up, it's pretty cool. It speaks a lot about the film that my favorite part of the film is like a 2-second visual effect that keeps showing up every so often. So
That then ended up in Doctor Strange 2.
yeah, it did.
My favorite part is, I think, even though the mummy itself is kind of sidelined in the movie, I think Sofia Boutella is like really bringing some energy to the role. And like, if they had just let her do her thing and focused on her a little more, that wouldn't have made the movie good, but it would have made it a little better.
Ironically, they don't give her much to do in her own movie.
Yeah, because when I watched
really
it
sucks.
again, because I watched it in theaters, and then like a few years ago, I watched it again because we did that episode on those early scripts.
Yeah, we
and
did.
I was like, wow, like she's even less than I remember.
Unfortunately, because there's really not much else to like about this movie, I'm gonna have to, piggyback off of Bruce. Really liked Amina. I thought her design looked really cool. I liked how like her powers and stuff. I don't know. I liked her. I thought she did a really good job. And again, actress killed it. I wish she had more to do. I always thought it was really cool, the scene where like she's like throwing up the mercury or whatever. That was like interesting. But yeah, that was my favorite part.
My least favorite part, I'll be honest, guys, for a while, I had picked just Prodigium, that whole angle.
Yeah.
But there was something else that I found a little bit more infuriating that I had to sub it out. It's Tom Cruise stabbing himself with the thing that the entire movie has been explaining
Yes.
over and over again will take over your mind and destroy the whole world. And that doesn't happen. Tom Cruise just gets over it, even though he's literally the devil now, because it'd be a cool action scene. Everything about Van Helsing not pulling its punch, this is what I'm referring to in modern cinema. This is the problem. So I hate that so much.
My worst. This is kind of a meta reason, but the fact that Tom Cruise is generally really good at these kind of blockbuster movies, and you even have Christopher McQuarrie working on the script here, and they collaborate really well together, and the movie is still shit. That just saddens me.
Yes. Crazy to think about. Crazy that like such talent is associated with this, and it sucks so bad.
The thing I hate the most is that you have Amanette chained up, has mercury flowing through her. She can still talk. You have this awesome moment to really have like this dialogue and like really get to talk to her and like really like, again, like how I always say, be able to like see that monster captain and like kind of be able to like see what's going on in their head. And they botch it by having it go to Tom Cruise and the girl talking about how Tom Cruise is a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. And she's just standing right there. And you have all this potential to have really an interesting moment. And you just go, okay, yeah, no, never mind. So
There's an episode waiting to be had just about what's wrong with this movie. But I'll tell you about a movie that's infinitely better. And I actually mean it this time. 2020's Invisible Man. Now,
best joke tonight.
I think I am the biggest defender maybe in the world, except for like Lee Winnell's mom of this fucking movie. Like this is my baby. I'm so happy with 2020's Invisible Man.
Yeah, it's great.
Hard to pick a favorite part. I went with the attention to detail with the visual effects. Like there are certain scenes, there's all kinds of scenes like this where like with the stove where she walks away from the stove and it lights itself. I paused and like rewound. They took the time to actually had nobody turn the knob to set it and light it like they did like they did. They made it look like nobody was there turning that knob. Like there's so many little scenes like that that's just like they spent the time, they really focused on the visuals, and they made it all continuity wise logistically make sense. Like if a guy was invisible, this is what this would actually look like, quote unquote. So I love the time they took with that.
Yeah, all those effects, I'm going to give it. Those were really well done, and I really liked them. If you look at the behind the scenes, like, they did a lot with how they did the invisibility stuff. And
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
cool to watch, so I agree with that.
My favorite part is the camera work, because the camera is used so masterfully to imply the Invisible Man's presence. And there's even scenes where I'm like, I don't even know if he's there or not.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. It builds that great sense of paranoia.
I have to admit that was good too. When I was doing Unseen Obsession, my storyboard artist did take a few influences, and she was like, "Look, I know you hate 2020s, but some of this camera work is really good." So we did take inspiration from that for a few times, and it was good.
Understand.
But my favorite thing is, I agree with all you guys on that. I think they did really good with the whole paranoia aspect. I thought that whole plot line was well done, especially like in the beginning where she's like just getting gaslit in certain areas. I like that. I like the paranoia angle. It was well done. It was really good done from the perspective of the victim.
I really thought like a long time about my least favorite part. I'm gonna sound like a stupid idiot, but like I could not think of one. I fucking love every part of this stupid movie.
Okay,
and well, I finally found it's just like it's like a thing, like a tiny little. It's the volume when they kick the dog bowl at the start of the movie is like it goes from nothing to like maxing out your headphones. Now, in the theater, it's crazy. In digital, it's crazy. It's just like, just turn that down for like the 2
What's that
seconds that it's on
meme
screen.
where it's like me at 4 a.m. when I drop a cup and it's like clatter, clatter, clatter.
Yes.
The
The thing
loudest
is, like,
thing
when you're
around.
when the movie's silent, any sound feels loud. You don't have to make it crazy loud to emphasize it. It already feels emphasized because everything's quiet. So it by contrast, and they just jacked it up. I was like, whoa! So that's the one thing I don't like. It's 1 second of screen time that goes away quickly, and the rest of the movie is amazing. So yeah, what's your least favorite part, Bruce?
This is another dumb, nitpicky thing, but you get that great scene and the great jump scare where she throws the white paint on him, and he somehow washes all the paint off perfectly in about 30 seconds flat.
That's true too. He only had like 20 or 30 seconds too. She runs right after him.
And I don't think that sink had the removable sink head. I think it was just a regular sink too.
Yeah.
Now my man shoved his head in that sink. He was in
Right?
there.
Now maybe there's like some scientific, like maybe Lee Winnell was thinking in the background, like, oh, it's made from like some kind of polymer that paint doesn't stick to or whatever. But that's not in the movie. So
Maybe he had a sponge. I don't know.
There's a lot of things about this movie I can say I don't like. I could go on a whole tangent. I'll say that for another day because I don't want to do that. Just gonna go off the highlights here. The knife scene is the worst thing in the world. Don't know how anyone at a packed restaurant didn't manage to see that. One person didn't manage to see a floating knife walking throughout, and like just the geography of all that.
Okay,
works.
even if they did, like the cops are not believing them. Like,
Oh, for the
there's-
love of God!
They're not-
For the love
seriously,
of God! Five
seriously.
witnesses. If you have five, okay.
No, 5 people looking at the stupid table.
Okay, I hate that the Invisible Man is just so randomly OP. Is just for some reason able to like take out every single security guard in one brisk moment, like he's fucking Superman all of a sudden.
How were they stopping him? That's all I'm saying. How are they?
Why?
All right,
I don't
I'll let you-
understand some of the things. Okay,
I shouldn't chime
I
in.
hate-
I'll keep quiet.
he could have stuck the knife in his pants and then pulled it out when he got to the table.
I hate all the plot holes. I don't know why she finds a second suit, knows that he's following, knows that this suit can make her invisible, and decides, I'm gonna just stash it in here instead of putting it on. And you know, the one thing that would make it so that I'm completely safe and like can completely prove, no, let me just stash it and find another way to do this. What? I mean, that's just like probably one of the biggest plot holes. And then finally, I hate the suit. I think it's so stupid with all the cameras, and I don't like how it's stupid. I hate it. I hate everything about it. It's dumb. And I'm gonna say this before Jake chimes in about how great the suit is and how wrong I am.
I'm staying quiet.
You wrote a better Invisible Man, and you have a better Invisible Man suit, and everything about it made me think this is how I would be happy if Jake's Invisible Man and his version of the suit and how his Jack was on a movie. I would be happy with that. You did better than Blumhouse, okay? So just think about that before you tell me I'm wrong about all my opinions.
Wasn't in Devil's League? Wasn't the suit made by Vera West?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gowns. Yes.
And my man and my man Jack refused to ever take it off. It was literally a skin to him, and that was so cool. And it was great. I like it.
Well,
he even goes in goes to the bathroom with it on.
Look, you guys are. Thank you, Xander, for those kind words. It's pretty high praise.
I'm not even playing it up. I genuinely am serious.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I'm serious too.
You had a
And-
great Ape Woman take.
Well, thank you. I've heard that as a resounding thing as well for the book.
Ape Woman, great. I actually gave a fuck.
I kept quiet for the rest of your criticisms on Invisible Man, and I think I'll just leave it at that. We see things differently, but I'm glad we
whether
can
it's
agree
on this, whether it's on this podcast or mine, one day we will have a long discussion battle about that movie. Okay, Jake?
All right,
all
right. That's
have
in the
it one
can.
If it's on here, I'm just gonna be sitting here going, okay. I have to be the referee.
Bruce is just gonna be nodding his head like, yeah.
All right. We'll see how it is. But
I'll take a nap in the middle of it.
Let's be positive for a minute because, you can't even do that because you hate this too. Renfield. My favorite part of Renfield is Nick Cage's performance just throughout the whole thing. I think he's masterful. He's taking Bela Lugosi. He knows he's being comedic. He knows it's not taken super seriously, but he's actually channeling that performance pretty well. I think he did great.
I was gonna say that too, because what I like about it is that it's a comedy performance, but they let him be a legitimate evil villain in the movie. Like, he's actually kind of scary at times.
He is.
Like
Yeah,
in that scene where he kills the entire support group, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he actually gets to be like a dark and like just like dark and do his own thing and not like have to cage it up, it's really good. He did a really good job with his interpretation. So, okay, I have 3. Yeah, for me, who actually hates this movie, I do like
More
a lot.
than I expected.
Yeah, I know. Love the recreation scenes. Really well done, excellently done. I like that whole beginning part. That was lovingly made. Really liked every part of it. It was really cool. I think Holt played a really good Renfield, really strong Renfield. I'm really just perfect Holt. If I ever get a chance to do Dracula, I would cast him as my Renfield too. And then I also really liked the sort of where they kind of added to it and like said that Renfield was a little greedy, you know, like he was like, yeah, I you know, he also, you know, Dracula like took over him, but he was also like trying to use Dracula as well and like trying to be greedy with like getting this money and stuff. And essentially from his perspective, before he knew who Dracula was, he was just taking advantage of an old guy. And I like that. I like that angle. It added a little bit more depth to Renfield's character.
Yeah, I agree completely. My least favorite part is Ben Schwartz's performance. I think this guy. Look, my favorite part and least favorite part are both acting in the movie, which is pretty funny. But Ben Schwartz, I gotta point out, he can be funny. He can be. But oh my god, between Teddy Lobo and Sonic, this guy is just the most frustrating.
Volume warning for a second. Teddy fucking Lobo!
Yeah.
My least favorite thing, the whole cops and criminals plot in the movie. It gets better as it goes along, but in the first act, it is the most stock generic crap.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is even going on here? Why is this in the Dracula movie? But then Dracula joins the criminals, and then that actually makes them kind of interesting, that alliance. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's also really, it is really funny though that the crime boss in this is in the Penguin playing a crime boss. But
oh, is she really?
Yeah, she plays Maroni's wife.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
but yeah, it's just boring, and like Aquafina's whole part of it, where it's like, oh, my dad died. I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, and she gets better as the movie goes on, but it's that first act. I'm like, ugh.
Oh, cool. We can have like Renfield. It's from his perspective. All this stuff. No, let's just make it a comedy. Okay, cool. That's great. Could have had like a really cool dramatic horror, but oh well. Freaking dubstep for whatever random reason. Mortal Kombat reference for whatever random reason. Let's snort a centipede because funny and cool and shit. Criminal thing. I already did my Teddy fucking Lobo bit for the day. I hate that Nick Cage really had his own interesting interpretation of Dracula, and then for some reason the director goes, for so many takes, all right, that was great, Cage, now give me the Cage version of it. And he has to ham it up, even though I know, I have a strong feeling he didn't want to ham it up at times. But yeah, that's my just little like rundown bullet list, so there you go.
Fair enough. Well, let's move off of a much controversial subject of Renfield and go to one that I think we can all agree on here. And I actually mean this time. Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Hell yeah.
This movie is just one of the best Universal Monster remakes, in my opinion. My favorite part is funny. It's my least favorite part of The Wolfman. The pacing. The fact that this movie took its time with all of these characters before they start meeting their fates. I loved the angle it took, and I loved the structure. And just, it was a patient movie. It made you wait, and then when you finally get there, it's so satisfying.
My favorite thing is the premise. This whole premise of taking the boat ride and making a claustrophobic horror movie out of it is really cool. It's one of those things, when you first hear it, it's like, really? You're adapting one chapter? But then you look at how they do it, and it's like, oh, this actually is kind of cool. It's got kind of an alien vibe to it a little bit. And just, it's just a great idea.
And everyone who's read the book will like tell you that that's one of the best parts of the book. So perfect part to adapt it. First off, I agree with both of you guys. So much to say that I love about this movie. I love the filmmaking. I love the cast, the story. Just every scene is really good. 2 scenes are the best. The first one that always sticks in my mind is just the very end where like the guy gives that speech of like how like he doesn't fear him, and then like Dracula picks up and he goes, "I don't fear you," and he goes, "You will." And it's like so sick. And like also the end when he taps his cane down and stuff. The other scene that I just remembered is so good. When the kid is killed, And
Yes.
just the guts that they had to kill off the kid, and in such a brutal way. And like, this kid is so lovable. I love this kid. He's not annoying. Sucks to see him go. Sucks to see how he dies. It helps continue with the ramifications afterward, with the downfall of the captain. And so good. And like, my friends, I had, this was my choice for my Halloween movie of the pick, and my friends were watching, and they're like, "There's no way they're actually gonna kill the kid." And they're like, they all agree. They're like, "We're gonna give this movie so much props if they actually do it," and they killed off the kid. I was like, "Fuck yeah." It was good.
Yes.
And they killed the female lead.
Yes.
They did. They killed off everyone but the one guy who, like, it would make sense for him to live. They didn't pull their punches like with Van Helsing. It was good. And her death is so beautifully tragic. I love it when she just, like, sails off and she just turns to fire. Oh, so good. I could gush about this film for an hour.
I could as well. Yeah. My least favorite part, I wonder if this is also at least one of your least favorite parts, the very ending, the sequel bait ending.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the only part of the movie that isn't all of those wonderful things we're saying about character development, paying things off, not pulling your punches. It's the most pulled punch of all time, and I hate it.
Yes.
I would agree if... I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, but that's also my worst part of the movie, because you get to the ending, and it's just this weird scene where Dracula is sitting there in monster form in a coat and a hat, just chilling in a bar, and then we get even if you just cut out the narration, the movie that scene would get a lot better. Just cut out the stupid voiceover at the end. Just have Dracula slip away into the fog, and maybe actually show the human version of Dracula at the end. That they should have done that too. I think in theory what's going on there is that he's deliberately letting the mask slip just to fuck with Clemens. But then it's like, it's just so weird the way they present it, and it's a bad ending scene. Just have it end in the previous scene even.
I give this movie an 8 out of 10 in the review. Without that ending, it would be like 9, maybe almost 10. Like I think it's the only real problem with the movie. Everything else.
It would be a 9 if they cut the voiceover.
I actually disagree with both of you. I really enjoyed the ending. I will agree that the voiceover is a little... It is sequel baiting, and it could have gone without it. But I really like seeing him in the bar. Clemens is just kind of drawing, and then I think Dracula's look, where he's like wearing the top hat and everything, is like really badass and cool looking. And I just love how he fucks with him with the bam, 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 and then walks past, and like you can kind of see him. And I don't know, it was cool. I really liked it. I thought it was a really cool little ending bit and stuff. That said, like you said, Jake, with how it's hard to find a least favorite part with Invisible Man, it was hard for me to think of something I didn't like with this movie. But if I have to say anything, it's the random, let's throw in Lawrence Talbot's cane for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea what the hell that's about, and it's just confusing, and I'm like, what? Like, if you want to talk sequel baiting, that's the real one where I'm like, are you trying to set up something? Are you trying to, like, throw, like, is it an Easter egg?
It's weird because it looks like they used the same mold from the 2010 Wolfman, except instead of it being made out of silver, instead of being silver, it looks like it's made of wood. Like, I mean, Dracula having a wolf's head cane would be one thing.
No, it still has the silver head.
I thought it was wood.
It's still a silver head. No, it's still a silver head.
Okay, that's
or at least a
then.
metal head or something.
Why would that's just stupid for him to have a silver cane.
We're moving off of the only bad parts of a great movie to go to a movie that I actually consider relatively solid in the Universal Monster canon. We're talking about Abigail, the latest one that came out this past year, because we're in 2025 when this uploads. My favorite part is any of the scenes where just an ounce of sunlight touches them and they become a blood grenade. Like, that's crazy to watch.
Those directors love to have people explode into a blood mess.
Yeah, I heard that the last one was very similar with, like, the blood explosions and stuff like that. But, like, this in all vampire media is probably the most sensitive vampires have ever been to sunlight. Like, the highest ratio of, like, consequence to how little sunlight actually touched them.
So you have this on one end, Twilight on the other. My favorite thing about this is I really like the whole old dark house kind of subgenre of a bunch of people locked up in the house with something going on and there's a mystery. I think that's really cool, and I think they did it pretty well.
I'm a huge fan of Catherine Newton, and I thought the scene where... Well, first off, I really love the Swan Lake motif in this movie. I think it's really cool when like she beats up everyone to Swan Lake. But best scene is the part where Catherine Newton is puppeted to Swan Lake, and she's dancing around and everything. It's so... Oh, it's so cool. It's like really like dark and edgy, and the editing is really well, where it like cuts back and forth, and like she's just going crazy and stuff. Loved that scene. I thought it was really, really well done. That's my favorite part of the movie.
My least favorite part, this might be a little controversial. I don't know how you guys feel, but fake Dracula at the end felt like a half measure. I don't know what they were doing there.
Oh my god, I was gonna say that.
I don't know. It felt like they should have either went full Dracula or just not had him in, because now that it's the worst of both worlds, I guess.
I bet you there was a
it's totally actually Dracula.
I bet you they shot a version of the scene where they call him Dracula, and then they went, maybe not. Maybe Universal was like, our last 2 Dracula movies bombed. Don't use that take.
Why would that cause it to bomb? It wasn't in any of the trailers.
I didn't want to say this until the least favorite parts, but to add to your favorite part, I'm not a fan of exploding vampires. I was like, I think this movie had way too much blood. I get it; they're known for blood, but my God, I was getting tired. The gimmick was dying thin at the very end of it. Also, way too many endings. There's like 3 different endings in this, and by the end of it, I was like, "Can I just go? I gotta use the restroom, guys. I'm tired. Come on, let's wrap this up already."
All right. Well, that is the end of our wonderful journey here of commenting on...
Well, hold on. Wait. Can I just give one honorable mention to Nosferatu, the newest 2024's Nosferatu. Just really
all right,
fucking
have we
amazing.
all seen it? I think we've all seen
I've
it.
seen it, yeah.
Let's throw a bonus in there. Let's do it.
I know it's not a Universal movie. I just got to gush about it. Really amazing time. Really good movie. Please go see it in theaters. It fucking awesome. Loved
and
it.
get the fucking popcorn bucket. God damn. I'm so mad.
If you see it, buy it.
Buy it. Buy as many as you can. Quick, they're going away. Give one to
They're
me.
already gone.
Exactly. They're all already gone. So, I will say that, because I guess I'm starting with the bonus of Nosferatu, which is not a bad idea. Favorite part, I didn't script this. I'm just going off dome here. Favorite part, as much as I love the directing, as much as I love the acting, as much as I love Eggers and all that he brings to the table, I think Bill Skarsgård. If I had to single out a part, I would say his voice. That's just his voice. They talked about it behind the scenes. Like, he worked with an opera singer to just lower his voice by like a few octaves. So he just sounded like that for the movie. There's no editing.
That's not my pick,
wild.
but I have to say, oh my God, his voice was freaking awesome.
Yes, it
when
was.
he first says my servants have all retired from that, I was like, that is so cool.
Oh my God. So fun.
He was so cool. I didn't think, I was like, how are they going to make Orlok actually work? And wow, that voice is like 70% of it. The design is awesome too. But.
Yep. So what do you guys think for the favorites?
Well, I have one which is kind of a joke, but I love the mustache.
No, you know what? Unironically, the mustache works.
Yeah,
they
cool.
pulled it off.
Yeah.
They pulled it off. It's not goofy.
I
It works.
wish I could grow that mustache.
I watched the movie and I was like, oh, okay, they're doing Book Dracula mustache. And then there was an interview with Robert Eggers where he was asked about the mustache and he was like, yeah, try and find a Transylvanian nobleman from this time without a mustache. So I guess that makes a lot of sense because he's so like close to reality and stuff like that.
But no, my real favorite thing is how he expanded on the story in small but interesting ways, and like adding character, adding all this detail, all the occult stuff, all like the scenes of Orlok clearly controlling people and denoting that by using the camera. Oh, it's so good. It's a excellent film. Well, they work all this different folklore into it. So good.
Mm-hmm. It's so fun.
Yeah. My favorite part, like if I can't say everything, the editing, the camera work, the lighting, the acting. The one scene that I think I love the most out of everything. Kind of spoiler, but not really. It's just the scene where Orlok is talking to the girl, and they just kind of have like this standoff thing, and it's just. I legitimately was just frozen in my seat. I was like taken. I felt this intense fear that wasn't like the normal fear. It was just like this intense, like, oh my God, this is happening. Like, wow, it was Oh my god, really great scene, really great scene, and everything about the movie is amazing. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite scenes in that.
Sure. We're getting into least now.
Oh, God.
If it's all the same with you guys, I'm gonna go last because I have kind of a big thing.
Oh.
It's like the only problem I have with the movie. So,
All right,
Bruce,
all right.
what's your least favorite part?
And I'm not even really sure if I'm interpreting this scene correctly, but it seems like they're kind of hinting that one of the characters is turning into a vampire right before that, because it kind of looks like they have fangs in the shot. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, and I'm just like, what was going on there exactly? But I'm probably wrong.
You know, it's hard for me to think. There really wasn't anything in this movie I didn't like.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cop out. I've done a lot of like bad stuff anyway. Nothing about this movie is terrible. Perfect film.
I do have one thing I thought was kind of funny at the ending. The cat was in the room the whole time.
Yeah, just hanging out. Well, dude,
It
canonically
was?
with real life canon is that cats just stare and watch you have sex regardless of what happens. So, like, that's just what they do. They're weird. All right, so they were probably watching for the other sex scene too. So the one thing that I have about this movie that just I don't know how to feel about it is Robert Eggers made a lot of changes. Not a lot, but some changes. And I think the majority are for the better. I think a lot of what they did with this updated version is just awesome. And it just made sense for the story. But the issue that I come to, if you take out all of the supporting male characters, if you remove Willem Dafoe's character, Nicholas Holt's character, the doctor, the Aaron Taylor-Johnson, take them all out of the movie, Nosferatu still loses. Because he's obsessed with her love. She brought him back. She's the one who brought him on in the first place. And then he's obsessed. He's got to have her. He's smelling the thing. Oh, lilacs are so great. I got to get to her. The way to defeat Nosferatu is just when she blatantly accepts him and then he drinks her blood and dies. And for me, it's like now the movie has spent so much of its runtime on these characters that I liked seeing and enjoyed. And I loved what they did. But they didn't need to burn the coffin. They didn't need to destroy the Renfield's allegory. They didn't need to do any of that shit. They could have just waited. He would have just showed up, drank her blood, dead, done.
I have
problem solved.
something of a counterpoint to that. They didn't know that until Willem Dafoe found Connacht's book.
They did.
And the
You're
only
absolutely
reason
right.
it works is because she knows what she's doing and she's purposely keeping him there longer.
Right, and then I thought about it too. Where it's
Yeah,
go on.
Oh, I will also say I can't remember if you added Nicholas Hoult in that list of the male characters. Did you add him in? Like,
did,
if he wasn't in there,
yes.
it'd be the same. Okay, I will say counterpoint. She wouldn't have actually bothered trying to fight back against him or like doing this if it wasn't for the fact of her love for Nicholas Hoult's character. Their love is her driving point. That is her motivation.
True, and it is her motivation, but were Nicholas Hoult not involved, she probably would have given herself up to Nosferatu because she wanted him in the first place before Nicholas
And
Hoult.
they would have lost, and he wouldn't have died.
No, because he would have died because she gives herself up willingly. That's what destroyed him.
But she wouldn't have waited and held out until the sunlight came up.
See, I don't know, because they say specifically the way to stop him is when she accepts him. So, like, I don't know if the sunlight is what killed him. He didn't look like he burned at all. It looked like, I don't know.
No,
But
the sunlight is what kills him. That's the whole point. The sunlight hits him,
I'm
but
gonna have to
he's
watch it
so
about
into
100 more
her,
times.
he doesn't remember.
The first crow of cock. The first crow of cock.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch it about 100 more times.
Also, Willem Dafoe, Jake. Willem Dafoe is always justified to be in a movie. Okay,
That's
always
true. Hey, look,
justified.
guys, I love the supporting character. I love this movie. It's a great movie. I'm not saying this
Yeah,
shouldn't
I
have been
mean,
there.
they had Jesus himself as Van Helsing. How do you do any better?
Exactly. Like, dude, Bill Skarsgård and Willem Dafoe acting like in the same film is crazy. I wish they were on screen at the same time. Like, they're two creepy legends of cinema, you know? So, but yeah, no, I love this movie
That
so
would have
much.
been cool to see it face off.
Would have been so fun. Either way, that will do our show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as always. Thanks, guys, for doing this. I know this is like, audience, for context, we have been trying to have the three of us at the same time, the same episode for like all month.
Oh, yeah.
This is literally like days before the episode goes up. We finally have a day. Genuinely, it's great having all three of us together in the same not the same room. We're in 3 different states, but in the same episodes.
The same chat.
So-
the same chat.
Three different time zones too.
That'll just about do it. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we'll see you guys on the next first of the month, which will be our 12th episode, which will mark a full year of having done this, which is so.
Oh yeah.
We'll presumably be talking about Wolfman.
Yes, we. Oh, and next episode.
Oh,
we're
that's
talking
gonna be an episode.
Big
That is
Wolfman.
gonna be an
Let's go.
episode.
Let's get it. I'm so excited.
I am so excited for that conversation, regardless of how that movie comes out. That's going to be a great conversation. We've been building up to it.
Different energy. I'm excited for the movie. You're excited to talk about the movie. We are not the same. All right.
Hey,
Well,
you know
either
what?
way-
I hope it's good. For the record, for all the audience, Jake, I hope this movie is fantastic. I hope it's 5 stars. I hope it makes bank at the box office. I'm killing you with kindness today.
If it's anywhere near as good as Nosferatu, I'm a big happy boy. All right.
I'm not expecting that good, but I'm expecting it to be good because Lee Winnell knows what he's doing.
Catch you guys next time. Farewell.
Bye.
Bye.
See Nosferatu.